Thank you.
consciousness, if you say, of a whole undercurrent consciousness.
Thank you.
Okay.
Norman?
Malcolm X had two organizations at the time of his death, the Organization of Afro-American Unity and the Muslim Mosque Incorporated. And many blacks in the United States accepted Islam, and many did not accept Islam. So you had the Panthers and the League of Revolutionary Black Workers, the Republican of Africa, who responded to the secular Malcolm. Then you had other people like H. Rap Brown, who was the head of SNCC, who was secular. Then he was in prison. He became Muslim, Sunni Muslim, I believe a Sunni Muslim. Could you talk about the state of Islam inside the United States in terms of, both of you, in terms of how progressive is, I know the movement has various tendencies, if Sunnis, Shias, and I know people have accepted all. What is the state of Islam in terms of the movement in the United States and Canada today?
Thank you, Norman. Barry, 1 minute.
Well, the Nakba Day march of thousands of Palestinians coming to confront Israeli border authorities from, what, 3 or 4 different surrounding countries, I think puts the lie to the charge once and for all that not only that Palestinians and Arabs are passive and accept their despotic leaders, but that they're terrorists, that there are suicide bombers. This was mass action of the most inspiring kind imaginable against incredible odds. And I was wondering if Khaled would like to make an observation on whether we're likely to see more of this and what your contacts in the region tell you about that. With respect to the national question, very big question. We're going to get more into this during the course of the conference. But Canada is a prison house of nations, and some are privileged at the expense of others. Yes, it would be great to transcend national identity and put that behind us, into the, consign it to the dustbin of history. But that can only occur after the abolition of imperialism, which is a system of gross inequality between nations to the profit of the ruling classes of the dominant nations. It would be nice to transcend class too and put that behind us. But how do you abolish classes? By holding hands with your boss? The only way to do that is to abolish the system upon which classes develop and exploit, the majority exploited by the minority. So anti-imperialism is a precondition for world socialist revolution for which we strive.
Thank you, Cameron. Okay, we're going to get back to the panel with a very strict 7 minutes each for them. We will start with Brother Khaled and then Christine.
Thank you. One thing that struck me when I was in Ghana is that the average Ghanaian can speak 3 or 4 languages. And here in Canada, we say we're a bilingual nation, and yet we have two solitudes, actually. We are more or less like Israel, because that's the situation in Israel. You have Arabs that live in their towns and villages which existed many centuries before, and you have Jewish towns being built, all the time, separate. So that's the major problem, the segregation, the discrimination, and the difference between Israel and South Africa is that Israeli leaders or the Zionist leaders learned from South Africa that if you colonize a country and you keep the population, you'll be a minority and the world can easily identify you as an apartheid state. So they said, we will avoid that, we will expel most of the people. They become a minority, and now we say we're a democracy. And that's the game that they have. So I agree with you. Unless the refugees return, you will not have peace, because in the end, this was a colonial project that evicted the majority of the population, which has a right to return. And Israel was created by a UN resolution, actually, which is not binding, because the UN resolutions, the General Assembly resolutions, are not binding. And the UN does not have the authority to create states in that respect from another state, and that resolution was dependent on on Israel agreeing to the return of the refugees who want to return or compensate those who don't want to return. And then there is the real reason it was created for is it's a Western imperial outpost serving in their interest, and it is. And there are those who believe in this gathering of the Jews, and there are two types of people who believe in that. There are anti-Semites who want to get rid of all the Jews in Europe. They said, let's bring all the Jews, get rid of them, put them there, and use them then to fight these Arabs and keep them weak. And we have here in Canada Harper, Stockwell Day, Jason Kenney are people of that caliber. Now, Israeli Arab identity, like I have a daughter in Israel now. She went back to work with the International Student Movement, and she met a Palestinian Arab. Then she came back to Canada, he came, they got married, and now she lives there. And one thing I found out, because I've been going there, first of all, she said, Dad, they kicked you out, but I'm back in their face, and I'm going to produce children, so that Golda Meir used to say she had a nightmare whenever a Palestinian child was born. But basically, you know, these people were a minority that was completely demoralized in 1948, only 150,000. Now they number 1.3 million. Now they are Arabs. They are, you know, they say we are Palestinians. They don't say we're Israeli. When they demonstrate, they carry Palestinian flags. When Gaza was being attacked under siege, they came by truckloads of medicine and food to the border of Gaza to help them. The member of Knesset and the leader of the Islamic movement were on the Mavi Marmara. And they said, you know, we're Palestinians, we're here fighting for our Palestinian brothers in Gaza. Their pride and their identity and their strength has multiplied, you know, 100 times. They are actually now the main source of unity of all the Palestinians. They say we are all Palestinians. We don't accept, there's West Bank, there's Gaza, there's refugees in the Arab countries, there's Palestinians in North America and other places. They say, we are all Palestinians, we have to work together. So Israel has lost the battle because their whole policy was to dissect the Palestinian people and control them, and they failed in that because now the Palestinian identity is stronger than ever, and I know that they are now counting the days. How are they going to deal with this? If they get somebody like de Klerk, maybe he will save them, you know, because he will come to an agreement with the Palestinians and say, okay, we'll live as equals. We are willing, Palestinians are willing to make a historic compromise for equality in their own country, but they will refuse to be subjugated in their own country as inferior citizens.
I wanted to just add, I wanted to approach the question of class in Palestine just from one other angle, just encourage people to think about it in a slightly more complex way. When I was in Palestine or doing work with labor activists from Palestine in the U.S., I just want to explain their view of class relations within the Palestinian nation. They said to me, Camp David was a business deal. Camp David was a division of the spoils between the Israeli businessmen and some Palestinian businessmen who came in and now sit atop our struggle. And everything that's happened since I've had those discussions makes it clear. You know, Fatah is totally discredited. I mean, Palestinian PA is totally discredited as a force for the liberation of Palestinian people in the minds of the population. And just a few student demonstrations put the fear of collapse in their minds of both the Hamas and the PA leadership, though Hamas has much more credibility. And they rush to form a unity deal to defend themselves against the passion of the population to be part of the Arab Spring and solve the problem of Palestine. The forces that are coming to the fore, who are willing to stand up to Israel, by their nature are the working class sections of Palestine. Those are the forces who continually stand up inside Fatah and groups like that and say, leave. Why did you come back? We want to fight the fight. We want to wage the struggle. We are sick of your negotiations. And so I think that you have to understand, they are going to be the leadership of the national struggle that finally wins the battle as part of a greater struggle in the Middle East. Inside Palestine, and you don't have to worry about that. And they already have connections with the section of the Israeli working class that has any potential, to take action now before a grander unfolding of the social struggle in the Middle East.